I was sitting in the main cabin of a 101-year-old wooden schooner. Sorry. We had just finished yet another multi-day educational sale, and we're doing yet another mandatory debrief. And all I could think about was that 3-scoop ice cream cone I was going to get afterwards. And I heard a voice yelling from outside on the dock. "You're a bit full, you're a bit full, you're a bit full." And of course, I was the one closest to the ladder. So I happily excuse myself from the debrief, jump onto the ladder, rush up onto the deck, and I look onto the dock, and I see a woman standing there and the portable poo pump on the dock, full, pumping, overflowing. The pressure relief valve is spraying a fountain of liquefied urine and shit all over the dock, the beautiful side of this National Historic Landmark vessel, landing at the feet of this woman. So of course, heroics ensue. I race across the deck, leap over the rail, jump onto the dock, bolt down the dock, dodge underneath the fountain spray of shit, and flip the switch, turning the pump off. You do not leave the poo pump unattended. I'm gonna repeat that. You do not leave the poo pump unattended. I was pissed off. I look back at the boat. No one is on the deck. No one is inside of the pump other than myself. I yell, "Who the hell left this pump unattended?" And I see the engineer poke his head out of the deck house, turn it to the side in a quizzical fashion, and say casually, "Huh, I didn't think it would fill up that quickly." I took a deep breath. Nate, the pump is, the tank is full. We're in trouble here. So the situation was this. The boat at this particular port had to have a portable poo pump to pump all the black water out of the black water tank. The problem was is that we had to dock with the port side of the vessel to the dock because of the vessel arrangement at this port, and the starboard side of the vessel is where the black water port was. So the hose from the portable poo pump wasn't long enough to reach all the way across the boat, around the deck house, to the starboard side port for the black water tank. So we had to use another hose as an extension. Where the hose of the portable poo pump connected to this extension hose happened to be right over the galley hatch. And we always, on this vessel, had to leave the galley hatch open. You do not close the galley hatch on this boat. And there was no valve for this connection point between those two hoses. So in order to safely pump the poo from the boat, we had to stop the pump when the 35-gallon tank was only at 30 gallons, switch the valve from black water to seawater, flush out the hoses so we could then disconnect them, and they would only be full of seawater, no problem, disconnect them over the galley hatch with a bin underneath them, wouldn't make a mess, take the poo away, connect it to the municipal system, empty it out, do it again, over and over again. I had done it many times. Okay, the tank was full. We were fucked. So suddenly I got this bright idea. Okay, how can we disconnect these hoses that are full of manure, human manure, right over the open galley hatch, which we could not close? We could turn the pump to reverse. I suggested this to the engineer. Why don't we reverse a pump the shit back into the black water tank, empty the tank down to about 30 gallons, reverse the flow back in the normal direction, switch it to seawater, flush out the hoses, carry on. Voila, got a solution. So we tried that. We reversed the pump, started pumping. A minute went by. The tank level didn't change. 2 minutes went by. The tank level still didn't change. I said, "Nate, the tank isn't emptying. There's something wrong. There's something wrong." The engineer was like, "Okay, maybe there's something blocking the system. Maybe there's a check valve somewhere that I don't know about. I'll go check it out. I'll go see, make sure everything's open." He left the deck, wandered around the boat, I don't know where, looking at the system, trying to make sure there were no valves closed. I sat there inspecting myself. I was sure I was covered in shit. I just ducked underneath a fountain of spray. Nothing. it was miraculous. It was like one of those guys in World War I who you know, charged the trenches, and everyone around him is dropping like flies, and everyone's being killed except for him. Nothing hits him. Untouched. Nate comes back. I see out of the corner of my eye, Nate's joined by Chris, a deckhand. And they grab the connection point of the hoses, and they break that connection open. And in an instant, they both disappear behind a 10-foot geyser of shit that shoots straight up in the air in front of them. This is all happening in slow motion, of course. Crashes back down onto the deck in an audible whoosh. In through the open galley hatch, all over the clean dishes, and sets the entire deck awash in human feces. Then silence. And the next thing I heard was the most demonic, maniacal laughter I have ever heard. And I look up to see Nate, the engineer, laughing harder than I have ever experienced anyone laughing before. And it echoes through the whole harbor, this laughter. And then, as his laughter began to fade, we heard the sound of footsteps up the ladder from below deck. And I saw the captain's head appearing from the companionway, an exorcist-like turning around full circle as he surveyed the disaster on deck. And then his face appeared beet red, and he stared at Nate. And he said, "Nate, I'm a bit perturbed by your response." And then he disappeared back below deck. And then we spent the next 2 hours cleaning up the mess, bleaching everything. And I still, to this day, have not gotten a satisfactory answer for why they opened up those hoses. Thank you.